Hello again. Welcome back to the Better Together podcast. I'm Mike Baker, and we have an incredible episode lined up for you today. Today, we're going to be talking with Marcee Hartzell with TESH. TESH is a powerful organization in this community that serves people with developmental disabilities. They wrap their arms around them and provide life skills and support so that people can make it through their journey of life feeling loved and supported. This is a fascinating conversation. We're going to hear about Marcee's journey into TESH. You will see an immediate passion for the work that she does. We're grateful for Marcee for joining us today, and I can't wait to get into it. So let's get started. Well, welcome, Marcee. Thank you for being here today. I'm so excited to really dive into the work that TESH does. It's a critical resource for our community. It's crazy to see the overlap of all of the nonprofits in our community and just how often we work together. One of the funnest things for me is just learning about how everybody got here, their stories, because I think we find people in these roles. You're here because you're called to it. You have a passion for it, and you can see it in people's eyes and just the way they carry themselves as they talk about it. So let's talk about your journey, how you got to TESH, and then we'll talk about TESH and what it does.
Yeah.
Then we'll see where we go from there.
Yeah, fantastic. I think my journey is both professional and personal. And my husband and I joke, I have this kind of suitcase of relevant but irrelevant experience from my past. And I've done marketing and communications and program development. I've worked for the University of Idaho and STCU and Kootenai Health Foundation. And I think all of those bits and pieces led to where I'm at now. But more than anything, it was personal for me. My uncle moved into our home when I was a teenager, and he had fetal alcohol syndrome. And in that time, TESH became part of our lives and an important piece to my family's puzzle. And then we jump ahead 30 years, and my nephew was born with Down syndrome. And part of that process was my sister getting involved with TESH for our summer camp that he became a part of. 10 years later, my nephew became a part of our job supports and employment services program. So when TESH came into my life, I worked at different organizations, STCU, Kootenai Health Foundation, and TESH was always part of that because there was a tie to it for me personally. And when the CEO position came about, the first two people I called were my sister and my mom because it's full circle. And if I'm going to be a part of the organization, I wanted to make sure I was doing it the right way and serving our community in the right place. And for me, that meant via the heart and the soul. And so that's how I got involved in TESH. It's always been a part of my life, I think, since I was 10.
We all have life events that lead us into these things. Now that we kind of know your story, let's talk what is TESH?
Yeah.
And what kinds of resources do you offer for the community?
Yeah, sure. TESH is a developmental disability agency. So we're mandated through health and welfare. All of the supports that we provide are through Medicaid services or Idaho vocational rehabilitation. We work with kids ages 5 through adults age 85 or 95. And as a DDA, we provide developmental therapy services. So that involves life skills, independent living. We also provide adult day health services for adults. We have a youth after school and summer camp for kiddos ages 5 through 18. And then we provide employment services and support for adults ages 18 again through 85. And we have a site on campus that provides work supports, and then we go out into the community and provide work supports. So lots of age range. We provide support for anyone with a disability, an intellectual disability. So that could be anything from, like I talked about, Down syndrome or fetal alcohol syndrome. But a lot of our clients that we work with are dual diagnosed. So it may bridge into mental health issues or physical disabilities. Yeah,
You guys spend a lot of time with your clients.
we do.
And I mean, that family, that relationship building, I think it's so critical for all of the nonprofits in the community. I mean, you just see people building these deep bonds with the people that we
Right.
serve. Talk about what that's like, watching people progress, like especially if you start with a kid and you work that full
Right.
spectrum. Talk to us about what that's like, watching somebody start with your services and kind of where they go.
Yeah, one of the things with TESH is we're sort of this middleman, part of all of the wraparound services that an individual may need. So we work really closely with what they call service agents, healthcare industry, families, parents, caretakers, whatever it might be. But we're just a small piece to that puzzle. But at the same token, like my nephew or my uncle, they started when they were young and received services for 30 years. My nephew has received services now for 15 years. And so we become not just a piece of the puzzle,
Yeah.
but a piece of the family. We're an extension of their supports at home. So, for instance, the kiddos that join us, they may join us after school during the school year. Then they join us during the summer for a 7-week camp, and they're with us all day, every day. So that connection becomes pretty tight. The adults that we're working with right now, we're a day center. So they come to us at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they may leave at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. In that time frame, week after week, we get to know each other really well. Not just the clients, but the families, the staff that work with them, and or maybe an agency, a transportation agency in the community. We know everything about them, and I think that's what draws me to the work. You know, people say, "Oh, you have a business background, or you're corporate." But this is who I am,
Right.
right? This is
Those aren't mutually
they are,
exclusive.
yeah.
Exactly.
I'm
yeah.
running a business, but at the
Right.
same time, we're running people's lives. We're working with them as a person, and so that's the important piece.
Oh, it's amazing. For somebody that may not know, like what is somebody doing? So they're at a day center. What does that look like? What are people doing while they're with you?
Right. So we have some clients that join us for an hour a day, an hour a week. We have other clients that join us 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. And for every individual, it's we put together their own individual service plan. They have their own goals, and we track those goals on a daily basis. Because I kind of have an education background, we structure our classes for, say, our sessions on the hourly basis, and we have everything from a current events class to a ready, set, cook, or an independent living, house to home, and that for each person in there, it's different. One person may just need to learn how to say hello and look someone in the eyes. And so we work with goals on that. For someone else, it may be, how do I contact Heritage Health to make an appointment for myself? How can I schedule transportation? So it's very different. Every person has their own individual set of goals and their own individual set of timeframes, and we work within that.
That's amazing. We can't do our work without our amazing teams. So let's hear a little bit
Staff.
about who works there, what kind of background do people have?
Yeah.
Highlight some of your amazing people.
I will say this, the work that we do at TESH is hard. It's hard. We're working with people with disabilities all over the spectrum, and it's a lot sometimes. And so the staff that I have are pretty dedicated individuals. They may be helping someone toilet at one point in the day and then helping them schedule an appointment for transportation. So again, the needs of staff are pretty varied as well. I employ job coaches, and they work out on site with individuals in the community. I employ what we call direct support professionals, and those are on site doing our day support work. We have developmental specialists, and those positions require a degree, usually in some sort of mental health or special education background. And then there's the admin team. So right now we have about 30 employees working with about 60 individuals.
That's great. What a great resource. What's one of your favorite stories? I mean, you see success, you see failure. We see that in all of our jobs, but I think sometimes it's those success stories that really keep us coming back.
Yeah, for me, I don't think it's one individual thing, but the work that we do is hard. It's not funded in the way that it should be funded. And every day is a challenge, absolutely across the board, from someone didn't show up on time and what do we do and how is it going to affect their funding and our funding, to maybe somebody having a mental health crisis on site. But by the time I get to the corner, if you know Industrial Loop and where TESH is located, by the time I get to that stoplight, it all goes away. And all I remember is Mary's smile, or Chad's taking a sewing class, and so the little pot holder that he made. Those are the small successes that make every single day, the hard work that we do, worth it, hands down. Another really, I mean, for me, it's seeing a participant join our summer program in camp, right? Transition, graduate from high school, and now receive job supports out in the community.
That's so cool.
That's fulfillment. That's success, and that's the purpose.
That's great. What do the job supports look like? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, we work with individuals 18 and above. Most of the clients that we work with have to have a referral, so either from Idaho Vocational Rehabilitation or some other job supports program, Department of Labor, or maybe come from a res hab where they want to receive some job training. And we provide everything from resume building to actual supports on the job site. So that whole process in between developing resume, applying for jobs, interviewing, and then placement. And then depending on the placement, we have staff that will go on site with those individuals. Again, maybe just an hour a week, or it could be every shift, every hour, until that person doesn't need the support anymore in their job.
That's amazing. What are the challenges that you're facing? You mentioned funding. Funding is always a challenge. The political climate shifts. What are some of the main challenges? What keeps you up at night?
Yeah, I think right now it's funding.
Yeah.
Most definitely. We receive about 70% of our funding comes from Idaho VR or Medicaid, and we're essentially a pass-through agency for both of those. So it's a fee-for-service. We are seeing recently, VR was going through a financial crisis. We have not received referrals in over a year for that program. So as we train and fade clients, we haven't received clients. So that's problematic.
It's really challenging, right?
Yes. And then Medicaid with the budget cuts that we've received recently. So we have a 4% cut that happened in September. We anticipate another 4% plus. And with an agency who's running thin already, that's scary to think about. I will at some point have to decide. A great example is my nephew, for instance. He's receiving job supports about 35 minutes out of town. Is that going to be feasible? I don't know.
Right.
So do I make a decision financially for our organization, or do we eat those costs and continue to support a person and have success on their job site? Nephew aside, doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah, right.
It could be anybody, right? We have some job supports up in Athol, and I'm going to have to make a decision. There's about a $2,000 gap between funding, and that's going to continue to rise.
Yeah, people look at that and go, "Oh, it's just 4%." 4%. I mean, most nonprofits don't have a margin of 4%,
Right.
right? And as things shift like that, it presents all of these challenges. I love talking because so far we've been interviewing leaders of organizations. Um, these jobs can be really lonely. They can be really hard. You are in charge of making it all work as you go through that. So we have lots of leaders that listen to this. What's your advice to a leader that's in a position like this, or an emerging leader? How do you take care of yourself so that you can be there for your teams?
Yeah, I think more than anything, what's hard for me is knowing that the reimbursement rates don't allow much for me to pay my staff. So when I talk about serving low-income people on Medicaid, it's also
My team.
my team,
Right.
right? It's the people that I employ. I've had a lot of single moms come to work for me that have to move on to some other job that may have better benefits or a little bit higher pay because they're caring for their own kids. And I think for me, that it's not the service that we provide. I know we provide fantastic
Right.
service. I know the families that we work with appreciate us. It's how do I support my staff in the climate that we are dealt with here in Kootenai County. They don't make a living wage. That is what I go home with every single night. It's what I wake up with in the middle of the night. What can I do to support them better? I think for me, that's the biggest challenge.
It's a lot of weight.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And for me, I think as a professional, I find so much joy in connecting with staff, in connecting with our clients, that almost in itself is my recovery. Walking through the building and seeing the artwork, or seeing the blanket that they made in sewing class, or Chad coming and showing his first paycheck. That's my recovery,
So cool. Yeah.
right? It's weird. Maybe
No,
I'm a
I mean,
workaholic. I don't know.
makes total sense. It's great. I mean,
It's success.
It's worth it. Like all that, those sleepless nights are worth it
Yeah.
when you see somebody being successful
Right.
like that.
I think recently I have two girls. One just graduated from college, and one is a freshman in college. And my oldest wants to go into nonprofit world, and her thesis that she wrote about was about seeing how hard her mom works, and in this world that we live in, that is a combination of everything. I mean, what we do as CEOs, we advocate for our people, we advocate for our staff, we advocate for our community, right? Giving presentations, doing blogs, writing grants. I was just talking to you as I stepped in the door about the 3 grants I'm writing this week. Seeing her relate that to success, that was like huge for me as a mom, right?
Right.
She sees what I do and how much work
That's
I put
so
into
cool.
it. And for her to recognize that, I think that's what makes it worth it.
Yeah, I think as a dad, I made the mistake early on. I tried to shield my kids from probably too much of what I was carrying. My kids are older now, and I go to hockey tournaments with my oldest son. We were talking about it the last one, and he's like, because the last few years they gave me some feedback. I learned so I've been sharing some of the challenges that I go through, and it was so funny. He's like, I think sometimes you share a little too much now.
Yeah.
But it's fun having your family involved. I mean, they were always involved. They saw the work we're doing. I mean, to see that, your parents are leaving and they're working really hard to make a difference in the community. I think it really helps shape their future. And
I think so.
It's neat to see that she's interested in it. Now, are you encouraging her to stay with the dream or trying to talk her out of it?
I am encouraging her.
That's good.
Yes,
Good job.
I think she'd be fantastic in this role, similar role somehow.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. But I think, I mean, my kids have always been involved in whatever career I had, whether it be volunteering at a fun run or helping stuff bags for SDC, whatever it was, wherever I worked, they were involved. But I think for them to see this also come full circle as a family affair is important too. Um, I think as a nonprofit too, we enlisted our family members to help us sometimes because we are
They're
small.
great staff.
So yeah, I mean, my dad is my maintenance person, right? And so it is full circle. It is in a way showing them how we give back, not only to the people that we serve, but to our community. And for me, I love my community. I was born and raised here, and to move back home and provide value, that's what it's about. And I want my kids to see that too.
I love it. I love that, it's just fighting to like keep this community strong and successful. Our previous episode, we were talking with Jeffrey from the Salvation Army. We're talking about how, there's two different versions of the world right now. There's sort of this social media world where, look, there are real problems and the world might be falling apart, but it seems very challenging, and that's all that you're fed. And then you show up to TESH and hang out at the day room, and you go, oh my gosh, the world is a beautiful place with amazing people. I wish that that's something we could highlight. How do you guys, what do you need the community to know about you? So, I mean, budgets are tight, like things are being cut right now, and like you could sit in front of legislators and tell stories and do that, but like, what does the community need to know about the work that you do so that they can kind of jump in and engage and help?
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of two different levels I think about when you ask that question, Mike. One is the standard. We're a nonprofit, right? I rely on volunteers for everything from maintenance to fundraising, events, whatever it might be. We have 2 fundraising events a year. I rely on my community, my business sponsors, my volunteer community to come in and help us out. That's a big piece of who we are as a nonprofit. But more than anything, I want the community to just be aware, right? Understand that neurotypical and non-neurotypical want the same thing.
Right.
It's relationships, it's connection, it's peace, it's joy, it's a family, whatever that family might be. And so for me, I kind of have these 2 platforms that I bounce back and forth between. And one is really advocating and combating the social media and trying to push hard, do the fundraising, do the grants, run the business, whatever that may. And then the other might just be as simple as just going to Goodwill and finding a bucket of fabric for Mary for sewing class, right? Like, we all want the same thing. And that is what I walk away every single day reminding myself of every day. It's about this. It's about relationships.
Yep.
It's about connections. It's about bridging those 2 in a way that continues to help people.
I love that. Does it feel like this population gets dismissed sometimes?
Absolutely.
Talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing it more and more, but there's always those little things, like there's National Disability Employment Month, right? There's National Disability Employment or National Disability Month, which is March, right? And
there you go.
but those things are not ever really recognized within our Chamber of Commerce's, within businesses individually. And so for me, a success would be to have a chamber recognize October as National Employment Month and do a whole campaign around it, right? That would be so freaking cool.
That's really
for our
cool, yeah.
community, right? To recognize that. But I do see over the years more and more agencies reaching out to us and saying, how can we partner? What can we do? be a job site, provide internships, whatever it might be. That shows that you as a business or an organization value people with disabilities. And that's what I would love to see more
I
of.
love it. It's great. Um, when you look at sort of the next 5 years or so for TESH, I mean, we all know funding. So we're going to say, all right, funding aside, because it always seems to work itself out,
Way out
right?
somehow.
At least that's my optimistic self
Right.
showing up today. But, it's our job to solve that problem. So funding as we go forward. But what does that look like if TESH is able to grow? How, what does that look like for you guys?
That's a good question. We go through ebb and flows.
Mhm.
Some years we've got great success. Other years we're really tight. I think for us, I would love to grow our youth program and provide day supports. That's one service line that I think in our growing community, is needed. So I would love to see day supports for kiddos all day, every day operating. I would love to see more businesses step up and say, how can I help you? What can I do? Can I be a site? I think that for TESH's continued employment or continued success, that will be huge. Recently, we're partnering with Lewis and Clark College as a state association to provide kind of apprenticeship program for DSPs and to partner with agencies either in the health field or education field to provide trained or semi-trained staff to step in and work with people with disabilities would be huge.
That's great. Yeah.
I think that that's a goal of mine personally, to provide some additional training for DSPs. It's not a field that requires a degree, but yet the work that you do is big and intense, and any programs out there like LCSC or education institutions or health institutions that want to partner in that training would be a huge step for our field.
That's wonderful. You mentioned that the community could help by buying fabric. Are there? So we had Canopy Village on here the other day, and they have a list on their website
Yeah.
of things that they can buy. Do you guys have something similar to that, of things that you need?
Yeah, so we have of course, a website, and it talks about different things that your funding supports. $100 can help support art supplies or Ready Set Cook supplies, whatever that might be. Every once in a while on our Facebook page, we do put out a list of needs. I think for me, the primary focus always is that $2,000 gap.
Mm-hmm.
And so any donation, whether it's $50 or $2,000, helps support a person, either on site in their classes or provide the transportation or those wraparound supports that we aren't always funded for. So, yeah, I mean, our social media is pretty active, so I ask people to kind of hop on there and look at it and see the beautiful faces that we support
That's
on a
great.
daily. And
Yeah. I mean, it must be so rewarding just spending your time with people that just care. I mean, I feel like all
Joy.
of my interactions with people, that
Joy.
you might be serving, there's just this filter there that I wish we all had, that they just see
Absolutely.
beauty and joy and smile. And it's like maybe, I don't know if it's the gift, the way that is, I mean, the way that so many of us see the world. It's just, I just want to be your friend. And I think that's something so special.
Yeah, I think I don't mean to have this sound negative, but it's simplicity
Mhm.
at its core, right? It's about looking you in the eye, saying hello, how was your day, and that in return, right? Sometimes that's all they need.
Yeah.
And that in itself, to me, that's what I thrive on. It could be just greeting Mary in the morning when she steps off the bus, to complex issues. How are we going to care for this human whose mother might have just passed away? But in its core, they just want connection.
Right.
And so whether we're sitting in the lunchroom having lunch together and talking about what they made for dinner last night or what they're going to make for dinner tomorrow. That to me, that's what it's about.
Right. Like I know you see it happen. People kind of avert their eyes or look another way, or they don't know how to interact. What's a piece of advice for somebody that they recognize that they might not be comfortable in that space for whatever reason? But
It's okay
what's
not to
what's
be
a piece of
comfortable.
advice for somebody that wants to get better and just sort of take a step in that to make life better? Because your life gets so much better when
Yeah.
you connect with people.
I think for me, it's always treat people like you want to
Yeah.
be treated. That we're humans,
Right.
general. That at its core, right? That's what we all
Smile
are,
at
right?
someone.
Just smile, say hello.
It's not that hard.
When you start thinking about, do they have a disability? How should I talk to them? That's when it gets awkward.
Mhm.
Just treat them like your friend.
Get out of your head.
Right. Get out of your own space,
Yeah.
right? And I think it's interesting. We often don't think about this. 1 in 4 individuals in our community have a disability. So if you and I and 2 other people are standing in the grocery store line,
Mhm.
one of us is going to be
Right.
affected. So when you put that into perspective and you think about it that way, every interaction you probably have is with someone who either has a disability or caring for someone with a
Right.
disability. So I remind people all the time, patience, first and foremost. And I will say this, I am the least patient person if you ask my family, right? That's not who I am. But working in this field, you have to put a different foot forward. And working with the people that we work with, it's about patience, kindness, and caring. And when you think that first versus, oh my gosh, should I get out of the way? What should I do? Right? No.
Like, don't be awkward.
Don't be
It's
awkward,
really okay.
right? We're all awkward in some sense,
and
right?
we're all, I think, we've talked about on several episodes, like everyone you meet's dealing with something.
Absolutely.
And wouldn't it just be nice if we all got past our stuff on our head and just,
Absolutely.
even if you can't offer anything today, just a smile is great. Like
Yep.
we're all busy and doing your thing, but moving away from automatically judging and thinking, like creating your own story for the person. The real story is actually so much more fascinating.
Absolutely.
And, just being able to take a second and open your mind to building community for everybody,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be that novel of a concept. And I think our community is really strong. We do lots of really good things.
We do.
But I think, there's also that layer, whether it's a developmental disability or, any other component of life, there's a layer where people sometimes just don't know how to interact, or
Right.
they kind of do it the wrong way. And we're like, just stop. Like,
Right.
let's be human. Let's really engage.
And I think we all are guilty of that. I mean, I know after work, I go to the grocery store and I'm
I know.
focused
dude,
and
you have
in and out.
17 things in the 15 line, or whatever.
Right. And whatever is happening in the checkout line is
Yep.
just added to my level of stress, right? We're all there. But I think I'll share a story. We had summer camp recently and we took our kiddos out to a local store, and one of our kids had a meltdown and overstimulated, lots of anxiety. We were prepared to handle that, but I don't think the grocery store
Right.
was prepared to handle that. And so, I have to remind myself all the time, this isn't normal for everyone,
Mhm.
right? Because because I have been surrounded by people with disabilities my whole life, I can maneuver through that, but not everybody else can, and it causes anxiety in themselves.
Right.
And so it took a lot of communication after that episode with my staff that they weren't doing things wrong, with that store on, in the future, instead of building a wall, right? Maybe
Right.
we just say, how can we help?
Yeah. And I think that's the
What
best
can we do?
question, right? How can we help?
Yeah.
Yep.
I
And
think
just-
it's the best
just kinda
question
be
for
there
everyone.
I know, right? We've uncovered a lot of gems in this episode, but Marcee, it's just so clear that you love the work that you're doing.
I do.
And when we look at the different nonprofits in this community, there's a really tight network of like referrals, and we all try to work together because none of us
Absolutely.
can do any of this work on our own. when you think about the health of people that you're working with, you talked about mental health and there's a physical health component. What is that? How does access to healthcare impact your
Mm.
clients' abilities to kind of progress through life?
It's huge
It's a
for
big
our
deal.
clients. It is a big deal. Like I said earlier, we're sort of just that middleman or that pass through agency, but we probably spend the most time with our clients. And so having connections with other organizations, other businesses that provide that wraparound service is important. Um, Whatever might be happening at TESH with our client or participant is probably also happening in other
Hmm.
areas of their
Right.
life. And one of the things I tell my staff, they get so upset with me, is it's data, 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 right? So what's the pattern? What's the pattern? Pick up on little things,
Hmm.
right? Pay attention to the human, because if they're struggling and something's out of whack at TESH, more than likely maybe it's a meds thing. Maybe it's a physical thing that they're struggling with it, but don't know how to verbalize that.
Hmm.
And so we need to be their eyes and ears and then connect with the agencies that provide those other resources. And so, I mean, that's always, I'm preaching it at work all the time. Pay attention to the patterns so that we can help the whole person
I love
and
that.
not just the piece of it.
Yeah, that's great. Well, this has been a fascinating conversation. Is there anything that you want to cover that we haven't yet? It's okay. Like, okay if not, but this has been so much fun talking with you. If you don't have anything, what's the best way for the community to help you? So we
Yeah.
talked about some donations, but let's hit that one more time because that's so important.
Yeah, I think for TESH, there's two things that we always need. One is businesses and people to come on board as sponsors or donations, longtime supporters of TESH. But the other piece, I always love people to come into my building,
Hmm.
see what we're about, visit us. Once you step in, you don't step out. I mean, your heart does not leave TESH. So we're always looking for agencies to come on. If you have a special skill, maybe it's playing a guitar or singing, and you want to come in and help us, I'm always looking for ways to find those connections. Partner with other agencies, Safe Start, Goodwill, Habitat for Humanity. I'm always looking for ways to make those connections.
That's great. Yeah, we're so fortunate to live in a community where there's so many great nonprofits and so many people that do support the work
Yeah,
that we do. I mean, I think, you start the summer fundraising season and there's a fundraiser every
every
single night.
week.
And, it's fascinating how this community continues to step up and
Absolutely.
serve. And, as nonprofits, we're very aware of the impact of dollar. Like when we're asking for dollars, we know that we're asking families to sacrifice and share. Um, this is how we keep our doors open and we
Right,
run and we do our work, and
right,
families are just dependent on the services that
right.
you guys provide, and until they can figure out the political climate and keep things funded in a way, Idaho always says we're going to step up and volunteer and churches are going to support,
And
and
they do
the
here
community
in Kootenai
does, which
County.
is an amazing thing.
Yeah,
And I think this is kind of that call.
yeah,
We do have funding cuts, probably should pay attention, and you guys should include
right,
Tesh on your
right.
thought list as we walk through this. Let's make sure these people
Yeah.
get the support that they need.
I think for us too, I mean, TESH is going on, this is our 50th year,
That's great.
50 years in Kootenai County. And I think as a nonprofit, that's a
That's amazing.
big
Yep.
deal. That's
Yep.
a big deal that we've been serving this community for a long time. And so we're asking all of our people that have always or ever been involved with TESH to come this year, be a part of our summer event. And not just for fundraising. It's about
Yep.
celebration. It's about the people that we've served. And for instance, my uncle was a client in the 70s and 80s, and his sisters from California and across the nation, family members are going to
Oh,
come
that's
this
so
summer
cool.
because it's not just about Danny, right? It's about the services that this organization, this community provided for him that helped the entire family. And I want this summer to be about celebrating that for everyone.
That's beautiful. And I think, that right there is just such a beautiful story for the community. It's
Yeah.
just, I love people wrapping their arms around something
Yeah.
and saying, we're going to own it and love it and make it happen.
And
So,
continue
and continue.
for another 50 years,
Exactly.
right?
I love it.
I don't know if I'll be around for
I
50
know.
years,
Hey,
but
you know, why not? That's great. Well, thank you for being here
Thank you.
today. We appreciate all that you do for the community. We're so blessed. And it's fun always chatting with
Yeah.
you and seeing the work we do. We bump into each other all the time. And it's nice to actually just sit down and talk.
Absolutely.
So thank you for being here
I
today.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, all right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Marcee. TESH is an incredible organization, and I really would encourage you to make sure that you include them on your list of organizations to check out and figure out how to love and support. This community needs them. So grateful to Marcee for being here today. Thank you again for being a part of this podcast. I hope you're finding lots of joy and meaning in being a part of it, and we'll see you next week.